The Big NME and Danger Mouse music is my church NME. All is quiet in a photo studio 3 stories above a busy street in Manhattan's Flatiron district. There's the click and back upright and back in their civvies, which are still very stylish, if less glitzy than their outfits for the shoot. That quietness remains. A makeshift booth, but it's still hard to align a timid Karen with the wild, electric bolt of energy who doused herself in olive oil in the name of punk performance back in the early '90s. That will, photo Matthew Salakis. Today, though, behind our cardboard curtains, she is bashful rather than in your face. She seems happy when, after 8 years of talking about working together, the duo finally got into the studio together. Shyness was a hurdle they had to get over. It seems it was fine after a while, Brian explains, noting that, although they had met several times before beginning work on the resulting album from their sessions, they weren't friends. Instead, that's our best kept secret, Karen adds with a grin. Neither of us can photo Matthew Salakis. Regardless of their frankly not very believable insistences of being poorly skilled musicians, Lux Prima is exactly what you'd expect from a pair of artists with multiple Grammy, Golden Globe, and Oscar nominations and wins between them. You beautiful, elegant, and yes, accomplished. It's a record that it reflects evolution in their personal lives, as well as their musical ones, too. In 2015, the new record is made up of the first songs she wrote after becoming a mother, and they find her working through adjustments in her life, as well as in humanity in general. That it's an album that, photo Matthew Salakis. Brian, meanwhile, might not have gone through such big, milestone-marking and transformative moments over the last few years, or at least not that he wants to share. But he's aware that he's changed as a person in that time. I am less comfortable with anything but making music, he explains, alluding to all the things that come with being a professional musician but don't involve the music itself, like label politics, promotion, admin, and presumably, this interview. Written and recorded in bursts over 2016 and 2017, Lux Prima came to life in a time when America was going through a transformation of its own. Obama was on his, it literally came flooding out, she recalls, fiddling with the paper straw in her cup, its tip stained the same dark purple as her lips. At that moment, and although it could be pegged as an anthem for the various movements of resistance that have risen to action since Trump's election, she says that was never the intention. It was just photo Karen and Danger Mouse. Immediately after that song on the record comes Redeemer, a brooding noirish track that bristles with an intoxicating mix of danger and power. You're not coming, you don't have to say, Brian tells her with a laugh that only partially masks the sense of protectiveness in his comment. Instead, photo Matthew Salakis. Aside from change, Lux Prima's other big recurring theme is light. Its title, light will play an integral part in the duo's first art installation, too. An encounter with photo Matthew Salakis. A sample press image of that monolith looks like something out of Lord of the Rings, a pointed slab of rock with a crack through its middle that emits a blinding, purple-tinged light. The actual event, the idea for the installation, was born when Karen was listening through some old mixes of the record with her husband at their LA home. Surprisingly, while Karen and Brian might not be popping up in any ancient Roman amphitheatres anytime soon, if all goes well with the LA opening, their psychedelic sound bath experience could set up shop in other locations around the world. They're also photo Matthew Salakis. Regardless of just how they present Lux Prima live, what is certain is how important it is to them that people experience the album as just that, a full record that takes you on a journey, rather than a grab bag for you to pull favorites from. Because of playlist culture now, it's rare that you listen to a full record unless there's an artist that you really love, Karen suggests. People listen to music. The idea of download culture is done, Brian chimes in. That notion is a photo Matthew Salakis. What might not be done is the collaboration between him and Karen. They currently have Karen, meanwhile, has just contributed 2 songs to the soundtrack of Amazon's new TV show, Hannah, including a haunting cover of Smashing Pumpkins' Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Following right now, it's time for the temporary walls around us to come down and for Karen and Brian to part once again. Whatever the future.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.